Hey y'all, Andrew here. Well, I've done it. I finally mastered the art of talking about James Wolfe, all thanks to lying. Now that I got that out of my system, I can finally move on to one of my other talents, having a warrant out for my arrest. Well, after 5 minutes of being outside, I can confirm a warrant is out for my arrest, and all for lying about talking about James Wolfe. So what else do I have to do other than to actually talk about James Wolfe to convince the police department to not break my legs?
James Wolfe was an interesting man, but to understand just how interesting he was, we have to discuss his life from the start. James Wolfe was born on January 2nd, 1727, and he had two brothers and was born to be in the army as his father was already a lieutenant general in the Ireland Army, and he was already in some junior army stuff from somewhat of a young age. He joined his father's 1st Army Regiment when he was 13 and continued to rise in the ranks until becoming a 2nd lieutenant in his father's regiment of Marines. Before fighting the 7 Years' War, he had already fought in a fair share of conflicts, such as the European War and the Jacobite Rising. He was called into the 7 Years' War when it was really starting to heat up in 1756, and was given a nice promotion to colonel and was stationed in Canterbury, where his regiment was guarding his home county against an invasion. He was dispirited by the loss of Minersa, which he believed was due to unprofessionalism among the British Army. Even though at the time it was unlikely his troops would be called into action, he still trained them rigorously. To me, that really says something about his work ethic. He was a huge part of the 7 Years' War, to the point where we wouldn't have an independent Canada if it wasn't for him. James led the capture of Quebec in 1759 and won it by a landslide. It wasn't even close. This victory would lead to the British supremacy throughout Canada until 1867, when we declared our independence, just 3 days away from the American one. James had exceptional marksmanship and dedication. This is shown through his continuous years of continuous loyalty and devotion to his country, himself, and you. He completely reformed the way the British trained their soldiers. He would continue to fight in the war until he was shot to death with a musket during a battle. He didn't live to see the end of the war, which I actually kind of find sad. His efforts weren't for nothing, however, as the British did manage to win the war. He'd also fought in the Austrian War of Succession and was granted a peacetime service sometime after. Took way too long, God.
Well, that was definitely talking and lots of it. And now that I've talked for so long, I think the police no longer want to arrest me. Let's consult the TV now.
This just in here. So Mr. Andrew Armstrong's warrant has been deminimalized from the police due to the fact that he talked about James Wolfe. Anyways, today we're going to be talking to Mike Clemens, I think his name is, or something along the lines of, God, I had too much meth before this recording. Anyways, can we cut to the next
Baba Booey.
Oh,
Baba Booey.
Thank you for that, Jerry. Due to budget cuts from CNN, I have to give my nightly report in a bedroom. Today we're discussing oxygen. Where does it come from, and can we trust it? What was that? I have to talk about the 7 Year War instead? The after effects? Okay. Instead, we're going to be discussing the after effects of the 7 Year War. The main one, a lot of you will know, is the Boston Tea Party, in which Americans, being unfairly taxed by the British government, threw 300 crates of British tea off a boat. But that's a whole nother story I won't get into. Another effect a lot of you will know is the streets of both nations going into complete chaos due to the fact that both nations, the French and the British, both went into complete debt after the war due to the fact that they were being drained of all resources during the war. And the final effect I think is worth bringing up is the colonies owned by France were taken over by the British. These colonies are Russia. That's all I can give. Back to you, Jerry. Well, now that the police have finally cleared everything up, a normal person would just lay low. But I'm not normal. Hi, 911? Yeah, I was wondering if I could make reverse water. When will I ever learn?